we can digest the amazing, so many bits of information he's thrown out.
All right. I got the live stream notice, so we're going to go ahead and mute
Wait,
ourselves. And turn off
don't mute yet. Don't mute.
Oh,
just
yeah,
yet.
okay.
Hang
All
on
right.
1 second. We just want to make sure everything's here. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay, hold on. I'm just going to hide this. All right. Ed's just going to make sure that's going. Because it goes, we figured out, and it's pretty amazing that we could simultaneously stream live through YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah.
Sweet.
That's great.
So Ed's, the YouTube's now streaming, and now we're just waiting to get Ed's thumbs up that it's going to Facebook. So that's what Ed's doing over there.
I see you got some new artwork on the wall behind you.
Yes. Yeah, this one's the tourist, and notice what he's taking a picture of. Not the ruins, of himself.
Oh, yes.
Oh, how funny.
I think it's
How's my hair look with this backdrop?
good. Is it up?
Yeah, we're up.
All right, hang on.
I was joking.
All right, so now you could go ahead, Mark, and mute the audio and video, and you'll still be able to hear us, and then we'll bring you in shortly.
All right.
All right.
See you in a few.
Thank you. Is Ed ready?
Yes, sir.
Welcome to The Funniest Thing.
Yes, indeed.
Where each week we share stories about how stepping out boldly always leads to better than expected outcomes.
It really is incredible.
I'm Darrell.
I'm Ed.
And we're broadcasting live from Middle School Studios in beautiful downtown Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
Oh my gosh, we have a great show. We actually have some guests live from the Unity Village area over there. The show is called The Role of a Lifetime with Ayesha and Mark Livingston. Author Herbert Otto states, change and growth take place when a person has risked himself and dares to become involved with experimenting with his own life. It is time to wake up from our habitual mental routine and realize that we get to decide the type of character we will play in each encounter throughout our day. So let's pay attention to the role we are casting ourselves in. Are we going to play the part of the grumbler, the complainer, the victim, and the villain, or the generous soul, the kind-hearted fellow, the agent of God's love, the hero? On this episode, Darrell and Ed remind each other and listeners that we are writing the script of our lives scene by scene. So let's be mindful of who we are in each encounter and notice the results. And during the second segment, the celestial casting directors, Ayesha and Mark Livingston, prime us for the role of a lifetime with today's reading, A Great Roll.
A great roll. Well, since you're on a roll,
Just like a good sandwich, you need a great roll.
do you want to kick it off with the reading or the three breaths?
First, let's give a quick nod to Unity Minister Reverend Kathy Norman, who inspired this week's show.
Yes, she gave a talk. And what was the title of that talk?
It was the How to Not Give a Damn or something like that.
That's right. It was the art of not giving a damn.
Yes.
And it was it is so positive. And part of the talk was helping us realize that we really are the ones that choose the role we play, the character we are, the scene, like the scene we're planning. We're actually writing the scene, preparing the script, learning our lines, and then we're acting as the star, and we will in turn receive that the circumstances, that the scenario that we wrote prior to entering creates. And even if we go into a situation and we forgot that we're the ones who get to choose who we are and how we can, the role we can portray in the situation, we can change it. We could change it in the moment.
Yes.
At any moment, we could shift to a healthier character
Yeah.
in that scene.
And we can take the higher perspective from our seat in the balcony, she said, the best
Yes.
seat in the house. And, you know, Butterworth and others talk about getting the highest, which is optimism, optimizing our perspective, getting the highest perspective on things, being above it all. And from there, we can rewrite it much more easily from an inspired perspective. And one of the keys to living the role of a lifetime is having a theme song.
Yes, you got to have a theme song because theme music, you know, a guy who worked in sound said, they say that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and in movies, sound is worth 1,000 pictures. Sound is one of the most important elements in movie making because the type of music played can change the scene from a horror movie to a comedy. By just changing the music, the actors could be doing the same things, but the music transforms our mood, and we know that thought plus emotion creates the demonstration.
That's right. That's right. That's why when we look at something, when we're in a bad mood, it can look horrible and everything can seem to be against us. But when we take our seat in the balcony in that higher perspective and realize we're the leading role, and all of a sudden, the whole situation looks so much better. All of the stuff that felt horrible turns into a misunderstanding of what was going on. God's universe. This is like Emma Curtis Hopkins talks about. I've been reprogramming my subconscious mind with thoughts like, God is all there is, and God is good, so good is all there is. Yeah. God is all there is, and God is prosperity, so prosperity is all there is.
Yes.
When I run these type of things through my own consciousness, it is waking me up to how often in the past I've let lack and horrible storylines run my show. My buddy and I were saying, the narrator is now in a better mood. Like before I was telling a terrible story, now everything's going well and I'm feeling great because now the narrator, which is me, and my subconscious mind is in a better mood, and it changes everything.
Because we're the audience member too.
Yes,
it's
crazy.
When this thing saved my butt several times this week, particularly in responding with a text message.
Yeah.
You know, someone sent me something confounded about a request, and I replied a week ago positively, you know, thanks, but no thanks, I'm not interested.
Sure.
But then they sent another text, and at first I thought it was like a week later. I thought they were just following up on maybe you changed your mind. But when I read it carefully, wait a minute, it's like they never read my response. Then a mutual friend texted me, seeing the text this person had written him. You know, I sent Darrell a text. He hasn't responded. If you see him, can you please? So now I'm like, I'm being accused of being a non-responder when I was a prompt responder. So I first acted in the not so heroic way. I took a picture showing that I texted back, sent it to the mutual friend, and said, look, I responded to her this immediately. Maybe she didn't get the text. So I let that go because then I thought, well, I didn't need to do that. But then I started thinking, I'm going to have to scold this person, you know, by saying, you know, I did send you a week only because I felt like I was being perceived as a non-responder, right?
Yes.
So I had to switch. I go, wait a minute. Because we knew we were going to do this show. It was on my mind. I go, I don't want to be the character punishing this woman. I'm just going to be the good. I want to be the guy I like in the movie. You know, the guy who doesn't get ruffled, doesn't let this stuff bug him. So now I'm thinking, well, how can I respond in a way that's more appropriate to that? And my mind started to keep defaulting back to how I could stick a little dig in the text. And eventually I realized, wait a minute, my first text message was so positive, and it was a wonderful thanks, but no thanks. Like, I'm honored you thought of me, but unfortunately, I won't be able to do it. So all I did was, oh, this is easy. Copy, paste, because apparently they didn't get the first, the first one might have got lost in the ethers somewhere.
Oh, I know what it was. They were probably in that mood where they didn't feel worthy, or they were feeling like people don't get back to them, so they didn't see it.
Yeah, that too.
Because our phone wouldn't lie,
Yes.
Yeah,
So I just send it back, the same thing saying, thanks, but unfortunately I won't be able to. And I felt so relieved.
Yeah.
Because I go, okay, I don't need to, because I wanted to grumble more
I
with
hear
my mutual friend and go, what's with this mullet? How did they miss my text? See, this is what I mean. This is why I don't want to do anything with that group. And I didn't do any of that, folks. And I felt so good about myself. But here's the thing. And a listener named Valerie Brown, sent us a great letter. And in that letter, she said something that is spot on when describing this.
Yeah.
It takes work, but it's pleasant work.
Yeah.
It takes work, but it's pleasant work. And every time I do this and mind who I am going to be in, like what character I'm going to play in the role.
Change your
in a
theme
situation,
song.
and change my theme song, what it does is it's creating a new neural pathway.
Yeah.
I'm not the old habitual way of retaliation now will start losing its groove. It'll start getting grown over with shrubbery.
Yeah.
And the new groove of, no, I respond this way now, the more heroic, positive, confident way starts to become more and more the norm without me having to apply so much pleasant work.
Yeah.
Every time we do this, we're changing, and our circumstances are changing.
Yeah. I had a big day that I had planned for yesterday, which was, there's probably a lot of us that can relate to this, especially people who can be, I don't know, very hospitable people and want to be kind to everyone. So, and sometimes lean towards being a people pleaser. I had made a plan to drive down to Orange County. I had a friend coming into town.
Well, you gotta explain how far away.
Yeah,
it is.
I'll get to that. But I had a friend coming into town who wanted to stay at our house. I had in Orange County, like an hour away. There was we were gonna meet and have food, and then drive like over to Anaheim, which is like 20 minutes away, to see this punk rock show. Another friend's band happened to be playing a punk rock show for the first time in 30 years. His band was getting together. So we all decided we were going to meet. And then another friend happened to be in town. So we were all going to get together, eat, and go to the show. And then it also happened to be my father's 85th birthday. So I was going to stop by there beforehand because these two friends that I was going to connect with grew up with me in the same town where my parents still live. So I was going to do all this stuff, but then, the sensitive part of me was like, holy smokes, what have I gotten myself into? That's a long day. That doesn't all line up with how long I'm going to be there. What am I going to do during the gap time? I've been really tired, so I really haven't been enjoying driving any distance lately. So my mind's been tired. And so first thing that happened is the night before it was going to go down, Friday night, my friend started getting like cold feet for some reason about what he was going to do. The guy who was going to stay with me on my sofa for 2 nights, which my wife is already she appreciates having her space. So we love this guy. I love you out there if you ever do listen to this. But it was also like, all right, there's going to be a grown 51-year-old man sleeping on the sofa. So anyway, so I started blessing it. Then my friend that was going to stay with us texted me, and he was like, I know you got the podcast and you're going to surf. And I didn't say anything. I had never said any of this, but he's like, I don't know about this and that. And he was about to go into a movie, and I had the opportunity to go like, first he's wants to stay with us, and now he's making it hard. But I said, you know what? God's at work. Yes. But I had to take a breath and do this. God's at work. So, and I said, who do I want to be in this scene? The guy who blames him for making the plan hard or work, or the loving friend? I said, everyone loves you, buddy. There's nothing to be concerned about. I'm sure the plan's going to work itself out perfectly, because as soon as I got into the balcony in a higher perspective, I thought, God's working this out for me. And so I told him, don't worry, no concern, no need to make this difficult. And so the next day I woke up, and this was the day all of it was supposed to go down. And, you know, I wanted the loving thing. I'm going to go to my parents' house, see my dad, and then we're going to eat, and then we're going to go to the punk rock show. But that's like,
Well, you're doing a good, healthy visualization
Yeah.
instead of
right.
nightmare,
But
which is good.
At this point, though, when I woke up, it did not feel healthy. I felt like, holy smokes, how am I going to live through this day? And so I texted Darrell. I said, I came out of the closet because I knew I almost was scared to tell you, but I just said, pray for me. I've agreed to do all these things. So I said, and you agree, okay, we're going to bless it.
Yeah.
I did my morning routine, my daily practice, as our guests call it. And during that time, amazing things happened. My parents turned out to be going to the casino to celebrate my dad's 85th birthday. My mom had won a lotto scratcher, so she got an extra $100 for the casino. They're not like big time gamblers. They'll take like a little bit of money, and then when it's gone, they'll come home. But so now, in a loving way, my parents knew that I loved them, intended to come see them, but at the same time, I got off the hook. They were going to have a great day. I had a great chat with my mom. So she's going to the casino. So now that whole portion of the day is out of the way. So I meditate, and I'm reminding, and I already texted Darrell, or I called you. Amazing.
I know,
Already, my parents are going to the casino. And we're like, great, these are great signs of land. The next thing that happened is I talked to my friend who was going to stay with me, and he decided he wanted to spend more time with his dad while he's down here. And he sobered up because, got more inspired. He's like, yeah, I was going to try to think we should record music, but we don't really have anything planned. And I said, yeah, we don't need to make this work. At some point, if we're going to record music, it'll be easy.
Yes.
And so he decided not to stay up with me, stay here, and again, I didn't
Live
tell
at
him
your
not
house
to.
for a weekend.
Yeah, he decided to spend time with his dad, and so he was happy. So now it all turned into one little event in the evening, and it gave me time to rest all day for the drive.
Yes.
It's something Darrell said a while ago that I repeat to myself, is this could be part of your theme song. No suffering required. There's no suffering required. So all the suffering part got lifted off of me. It turned into like a wild little ride, seeing a punk band and crazy things that I got to see that I don't normally experience. And then I was able to get back in time and have a good night's sleep for this show. So the reading we're talking about,
This is a doozy, folks, from 1980.
I think a lot of people can relate to overburdening yourself when you think, oh, that's the right thing to do. It's the nice thing to do. But playing that role, remember, nice, the origin of the word nice is dumb or playing dumb. It wasn't originally a positive thing. We want to be kind. And in order to be kind, we must be kind to ourselves as well. We must love the role we're playing. And that's a big thing for me lately. Because I was having a bunch of anxiety come up, and I'm thinking about all this stuff, like, what do I want to do next in my career, blah, blah, blah. So my consciousness, something that came so clear is like, Ed, if you really want to do the kind of things you want to do, it's got to be you being excited to do it, not someone else. So I've uncovered places where my mind was still had a fearful mother character in my brain that I was trying to please, or some, but to do it this way, we must be kind and love being ourselves.
And we write them out of the script.
Yeah.
You don't need to leave those characters in your script. You know what's funny? The other day, because I could be a people pleaser too, say yes when I really ought to say no. And I narrowed it down in my brain.
Yeah.
I realized that people pleasing is guilt trying to be nice. People pleasing is guilt trying to be nice. Oh, I better say yes because I feel guilty if I say no. Right. And it doesn't work.
No.
Because
the feeling underlying it.
The foundation, if you start with a faulty premise, no matter what you do, it's not going to work out. I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to break these habits, but by thinking of what character do I want to be? Do I want to be the nebbish guy who's people pleasing it, the Woody Allen, I'll do it, okay. Right. And then hate it and be resentful. And I don't want to be that guy in the mood, in my little scenes throughout my day.
Me neither, because eventually that resentment comes up and it blocks the very good. We got to at some point be willing to say, you know what, if they have this unrealistic expectation of me, they'll live if I let them down. They'll find someone else to dump that on. They will live. We got to stop believing that the world's going to end if we don't live up to their expectation.
And one last thing, on that person who asked me to do this thing, my friend, the mutual friend, said, "Come on, do it, because everyone will love hearing from you." And that almost tricked me. You know what I mean? Into going, well, I ought to then.
Yeah.
And I said, no, you cannot. I kept it. The healthy voice is now getting so loud that I couldn't say yes
Right.
to try to squeeze myself, because I know it's not going to bring an outcome that's truly resonates with me.
Yeah. It's got to be the win-win, man. We all
Win-win. Everyone wins or nobody wins. And remember, you're one of the people in the equation that needs to win.
Yes. So this reading is from May 24th, 1980. Thank you, Kirk Chelson, for sending it. It says, "My heart is singing a song of faith, song of life, a song of joy. All of us have what might be called our own theme song. Some people seem always to be singing a sad song. Others seem to hear an inner melody that makes their faces shine with joy and makes them walk with gladness that makes them enjoy life. We may believe that there is not much to be happy about or to sing about, but we shall find that as we deliberately think in terms of joy and happiness, our mood will change. If we have been singing a sad song, thinking of things that make us unhappy, let us reverse this trend. The happy song is there in our heart, for God has put it there. We can listen for God's melody of life. We can put words to this inner melody, words that lift and lighten our heart and our life. A song of faith, a song of love, a song of life, a song of joy. This is the kind of song our heart can sing today. This can be our theme song. A cheerful heart is a good medicine." And we were talking about this before the show. I had a friend that called me or texted me for prayer. And she knows she's friends with my cat, Romeo. So I said, "Romeo's already praying." And I sent her a cat. And I said, "He also wants to remind you that you don't need a lot of prayer because God is already doing it." And that's what we were saying. Like a lot of times, and Emma Curtis Hopkins emphasizes this. If we're trying to pray affirmatively on top of a part of us that's feeling guilty, on top of a part of us that doesn't recognize that there is nowhere where God isn't, then we need to start with a denial. We need to clear out the part of us that is making things worse than they really are, that is believing we're set. We need to do our part, which to believe, like there's a reason why Emma Curtis Hopkins called it the science of mind, the science of living, because it's a science.
Yes.
These are principles. God is everywhere, ever present. God is only good. Therefore, good is everywhere and ever present. And when I run my own thinking through that as like a algebraic formula, I start to straighten out my own thinking, because we don't want to become. I was once this person who made all of my problems so big, and pray for me, pray for me. And it's like it can become burdensome, and that's not the way this prayer life is really works.
No, that's why I like Emmett Fox says, treat the treatment, meaning if you start having doubts after you've prayed about something, a solution to a problem or health concern, and the concern returns, don't keep praying about the problem you're trying to heal. Instead, just treat the treatment. Oh, I've already prayed for this. This prayer is working. That's the healthy way. If you feel the impulse like that doubt kick up, and it does, well, then just treat the treatment. And this is a great book. We're going to read a little something from. It's called The Power of Unlimited Imagination. It's by Neville Goddard. And he's talking about what we're talking about. And he says, this teaching is to awaken you to the active, dynamic being that you really are. So we got to, whatever it says in the Bible, be vigilant, or it says, waketh thou that sleepeth. It's talking about when we're not so mindful of our conscious thoughts and we're starting to fall asleep consciously. We're walking around, and when I mean consciously, I mean consciously minding my response, my reaction to things that are happening.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to default. And what he means by asleep is exactly that. And he says it here. So I'm going to read it from that first sentence again. This teaching is to awaken you to the active, dynamic being that you really are. Asleep, your thoughts are negative and passive and cannot change until you uncritically, and that's what Ed and I are talking about. We don't punish ourselves throughout the process, but uncritically observe our reactions to life. If you are honest with yourself, you will find an internal being you are not proud of, which is what we both shared about. A monster that needs taming. Tame that monster by filling your mind with positive thoughts of joy and fulfillment, and you will turn that monster into a being of love. And here's the activity we have to participate in order to do it. Get into the habit of observing your reactions to life. Give yourself your daily bread by giving yourself the ability to no longer react negatively. Become a doer by recognizing a negative thought, then breaking it and going immediately to a positive one. All of your grievances, your hurts, self-pity, and beliefs that others are the cause of your sorrow are animals that need to be sacrificed on the altar of consciousness. Letting all negative feelings go, select the mansion, which means state of mind, you desire to enter and go in. And he's basically saying we get to choose the role.
Yeah.
But we have to become aware of when we're moving into an old role that's not advantageous
Right.
to who we really are.
Yeah, and the tricky part is it's often buried in our subconscious mind. Like I was having a lot of angst around driving and it was coming up and I realized, first I was like, where's this coming from? What's wrong? And then I realized it was something that had been going on a long time, but I was just coping with because I was so used to it. And now it's on its way out. I'm more vigilant. I'm more aware of it. And it brought me back to being a kid. I had fear of heights. I had these I was like, oh, I need to love this part of me that I kind of pushed in.
Yeah.
I knew I had to move on with life and I didn't know any better. So I was like, get aside, kid. I gotta drive this car. I gotta get us. But now it's not about getting to the finish line. It's about loving the process of being alive. So I'm learning to love that part of me and heal that part of me.
Well, yeah, that's because the other way of just saying, shut up, kid, and forcing through, that reinforces the fear. And I'm glad you brought this up because people might be listening going, well, what if it's in my subconscious? How do I get rid of it? Well, folks, just so happens in Treat Yourself to Life, which is by Raymond Charles Barker, who was originally a Unity minister, and then Ernest Holmes kidnapped him.
He poached him.
In Syracuse, New York,
Yep.
and brought him to New York City, and he became a Science of Mind minister. But listen to what he says. Here's the good news. We don't have to try to fix these subconscious things ourselves, except be loving, like Ed said, to ourselves when they come up. But I love this affirmation, and this is what you can consider, because he talks about it here. And this is the affirmation. Even if you don't know what the subconscious blocks or fears are consciously, this is the affirmation to eliminate them. This power in me knows what to do. Every block in my subconscious is now destroyed by the action of God. The creative process now has full freedom of action in my life.
Yeah. And that opens us up to be generous and kind. Let's we got a lot more to share when Ayesha and Mark come on. I just want to share, we got a little message from Grace Deathridge, who was at a retreat with Satish. Remember our good friend Satish? She said, thank you, Darrell and Ed. Satish's final words on our Radical Love course were, be radiators of love.
Yes.
And she said, and knowing Satish, you can imagine the enthusiasm and high vibes these words were given. Thank you both and all known and unknown members of the Funniest Thing Club for radiating love.
Well, this is a good time to thank all of you who send us mail, Send us emails, real mail to Funniest Thing at P.O. Box 1312, Culver City, California, 90232. And everyone on Patreon who contributes to the show and enables us to continue to do this and share this great stuff with more and more people. So thank you very much.
Yeah, if you jump on patreon.com/funniest thing, we do a Tuesday 4 p.m. prosperity Zoom, which is a nice truth talk, and it's always inspiring. And Darrell and I need constant upgrades in our consciousness throughout the week. So we attend Nancy Norman's Infinite Prosperity at unityjoyoflife.org on Thursdays.
Yeah.
We have ours on Tuesday. So we're always doing what we can. So if you're part of the Patreon community, you can join us there.
And it's easy to become a part of the Patreon community. And if you're really benefiting from the things we're sharing, you can consider buying us a cup of coffee each month.
That's right.
Any contribution goes towards us continuing to put this show on for all of you. So thanks.
Darrell's got a new journaling class going on. Yes, create your best life through journaling. Starting August 14th. Where can they go to sign up for this?
They can go to darrellanded.com.
It's 4 weeks.
Yep.
Every Wednesday, 4 p.m. Pacific, a Zoom, 1 hour.
Yes.
And I want to just give a quick idea of what they're going to be what you're going to be doing together.
Well, they're going to learn how to create their best life via journaling by doing a lot of the simple practices that I learned starting way back when I was at the military training facility, where I learned how faith and love, and this was from the military while I was in the military, that faith plus love are more effective and reliable than force, and how to start working with your conscious and subconscious mind in a way that helps you achieve your goals in an effortless and enjoyable manner. No pushing, no shoving, just all loving. So if you want to sign up, like Ed mentioned, it's 4 consecutive Wednesdays starting August 14th, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. East Coast. And you could find the link at darrelanded.com, or it's also on my website, which is thiswillmakeyouhappy.com.
Yes. And then shout out to Barbara Weatherman saying hello from Florida. And then Joan Rose said, "Hi, Darrell and Ed. So fun to see you recording live. I'm usually listening to you after the fact on the podcast. Love you guys." So if you don't know, we broadcast live on YouTube every Saturday, 1 p.m. Pacific time, 4 p.m. on the East Coast. Figure out the rest of it. But if you go to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed on YouTube, you can see it there. Let's give a shout out to Jeff Comfort out in Kansas City, Kansas. He's still our audio engineer who uploads it on the audio podcast, adds all the songs and dances and such sound effects. And each week
He takes us
right into the comfort zone. Yeah. Let's do our breaths and bring our guests in a moment here.
Okay.
So ready?
Yep.
Take a deep breath. Darrell's inspired to write these breaths today, so let's take a deep breath. The joy of living is in the giving.
The joy of living is in the giving.
The joy of living is in the giving. All right. It really is. And that's part of changing your role in life. Is if you're one of those people who has underestimated yourself in the past and thought, I don't have anything to give and this and that, it's time to go back to your inner connection with God and give thanks for who you are and recognize the value in all that you are and have to share, because everyone has limitless value to share with other people, especially when you're doing it from a place of joy. If you start opening yourself up to that intention, you'll be blown away. Look at Darrell and Ed, over 10 years of doing this podcast, doing writing for different periodicals and magazines and newspapers and speaking different places, and all because of this intention, not to get famous, but to let the divine express through us and value what it is we bring. So, all right, coming up next, the celestial casting directors, Ayesha and Mark Livingston, prime us for the role of a lifetime with today's reading, a great role and so much more. So thank you for listening to Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed, live from Culver City, the heart of Screenland.
All right. Ayesha and Mark could unmute. Are you going to use the...
You go first. All right.
We have...
All
Darrell's
right.
going to hit a tinkle break for the YouTube viewers at home if they're curious what goes on during the break.
We actually have our
Station manager?
station manager, Gidget, here, making sure we mind all our P's and Q's.
Yes. We'd show it to you, but the camera's too far away. But she's laying back here. She seems to be content. She hasn't given us any show notes. Sometimes she tells us, come on, guys. So.
That's enough.
That's enough.
Oh boy, Lois Conklin's out there. Love being with you live. Your personal stories are very encouraging, says Lois Conklin. We love you, Lois. So happy you're a huge part of our of this Funniest Thing family and vessel. Because the world needs the things that these principles to understand the game of life, as Florence Scovel Shinn would say, and how to play it. And so all we have done is create an avenue through which we can share the things that we read all the time and how they bless our lives. And I think that's why this stuff is so compelling to those who are drawn to it, because it really, most of us who find it need it. And
That'd be
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Not everyone is in a place that recognizes it or whatever, needs it the way, but yeah, when you find it and it's right for you, it's just amazing to be a part of. It's Darrell and I are like on this Scooby-Doo mystery, and we'll talk about it once we come back, but that's how we met Mark and Ayesha as part of this mystery tour. But I don't want to spoil anything because we want to get the audio people to hear all the good stuff. So Darrell's coming now. I think I'm just going to strap in and let it rock. Should I do that? Nah.
Can you make it?
Nah.
Maybe not.
There we go.
Come
Better
on.
safe than sorry.
Gidget just
Oh,
asked
there's
Gidget to come
Gidget.
up to make an appearance. What do you think, Gidget?
What do you think?
So,
She's her breed, she looks like a blue heeler, which she is part of that group, but she is actually what's known as an Australian stumpy tail cattle dog.
Wow.
Because she's born with just a tiny little thumb of a tail, right? And she was rescued.
Oh.
She was a stray on an Indian reservation in New Mexico with 6 puppies.
Oh my goodness.
And my wife Lori was photographing the puppies and said, "Hey, I'm photographing puppies. Do you want to see?" I said, "All right, yeah, okay." So I went to her studio to puppy wrangle. And then we were putting the puppies away because they had just been weaned, so they didn't need their mom anymore. This creature was in a kennel, and she was so sweet to me. I said, "Who's this?" And Lori said, "That's the mother." And I said, "Well, who's taking her?" She said, "No one." So I said, "Well, I think that's
Yeah.
right, Gidget."
She just love you forever.
we're from, I grew up in New Mexico.
Wow.
Out here. So, a matter of fact, one of our people from the Albuquerque church, Diane Miller, had sent you some mail. I think it was either last week or the week before. And you read her letter, and I thought, hey, we've been in small groups with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's
Small
crazy.
world.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right. Shall we?
Yep.
All right. Let me see. Let me make sure this thing is all ready to go. All right. Welcome back to Funniest Thing, Darrell and Ed. Today's show is called The Role of a Lifetime with Ayesha and Mark Livingston. Let me read something right quick that we were going to read earlier, but it's really good. It's from tomorrow's August 4th, Deep Breath of Life by Alan Cohen. He says, the subconscious is the part of our mind that manufactures our experience. Psychologists tell us that the subconscious cannot distinguish between imagination and reality. That's why when we watch movies, we can get so scared or so elated, which is a good thing. If you hold an image in mind, long enough and feel it as if it is real, you can manifest it. Hold in mind images of the life you desire and refuse to feed thoughts of what you do not wish. Look at it, it says refuse to feed the thoughts. It doesn't say refuse to think them, because good luck with that. They're going to come up, but refuse to think thought. No, refuse to feed thoughts.
them.
Refuse to feed thoughts of what you do not wish. Watch your words. Feed your mind and your heart with the most positive, energetic, and enlivening ideas and feelings you can imagine. Then you will live not in the world that is cast upon you, but the one you choose. So that's why we do the show, because every day we need to be filled with these enlivening ideas. And that's why we have our guests,
Yes.
Mark and Ayesha, because when we met them as part of the Scooby-Doo mystery, we may have mentioned this before, but we were in the Peace Chapel.
Yes, we were, and it was late at night. It was like 10 at night.
We almost didn't go, and it was at the Fillmore Bible Study Gathering. What is it? Bible Society Gathering?
Well, we just got in from the
Yeah.
airline. We just landed. We picked up some sort of barbecue. A drunken friend told us to go to. And we got back to Unity Village, checked in, and then we were like, okay, now what? So we decided to walk and check to see if the Peace Chapel was still open, because it was always open 24 hours. Anyone could go and pray. So
Yeah.
we were keeping our fingers crossed that still held true. We were in there. And then Stephen, who was with us,
Yeah.
heard voices outside, and he got excited because I guess he heard Aisha's voice and thought it was a bunch of college girls.
Yes.
And he went out.
Yes.
And then came back with Ayesha and Mark.
He said, "You guys got to meet these two. They're so positive." And it turns out Mark is in charge of he's the office and operations manager for the youth and family ministry
At Unity Village Chapel.
at Unity Village Chapel. Ayesha is the youth and family ministry chapel director. Did I get that right? And together, this is we found this in the Guinness Book of Prayer Records right before this. 15,700 morning practices they have practiced together. Actually, they shared that with us every day. They meditate together since they've been married, which was when they were quite young. So they found each other early. But we're so glad you found us. So how are you both doing today?
We're doing fantastic.
We're doing good. I need to add one little extra detail to when we met you in the Peace Chapel.
Yeah.
So before we saw Stephen, we heard Darrell, because you guys had said something to each other, and he laughed. And
You guys are cracking up.
You guys are cracking up.
Uh-huh.
And as we got closer to the chapel, both of your heads peeked out from the side like that, and you said, "Can we make noise in here?"
I forgot about that part.
Yeah.
That's right.
We had a fabulous conversation. I think we stood there for like 40
Nice.
minutes or so,
Yeah.
connecting with each other. It was great.
And then we ended up rummaging through the recycling bins during our
okay.
stay together and finding amazing metaphysical material. And by the way, the fact that you had the response that you wanted to talk to us after we've had the opposite reaction from others in the past when we're getting too
Yeah.
boisterously joyful in chapels and such. So
Yeah.
that's how we knew. And that's kind of how we know we're in the right place with people who
Yes.
like are into these things for the same reason we are. It's that spark of joy, which is so essential to all of this.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when we were walking down, we never see the light on in the Peace Chapel at like 10:30 at night or whatever. And I had just mentioned to Mark, I was like, "Oh, the light got left on in the Peace Chapel." And as we got closer, we could hear you guys laughing. So it was just so funny. But yeah, it was a good opportune meeting.
Yeah, it's great the way, God works, because we're almost never there that late,
And not on Thursdays.
and almost never on Thursdays, but we just happen to be just that one day.
Yeah.
Like the funniest thing, you just happen to be there
Yeah.
at that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
And even
And then-
us.
Because you told us about it. We didn't even know the Fillmore Bible Society was meeting And then you told us about it, and we couldn't meet there Friday, but we both decided to come in on Saturday. And so we heard you guys talk, and and we were able to join in. And then I have my copy of the Fillmore Study Bible right over here on the shelf. And it was perfect, beautiful, divine order.
Yes.
Shout out to the truthunity.net if you're not aware of the amazing resources there. Mark Hicks has been on our show. He's the one who got us all together, and you could get yourself a copy of that Fillmore Metaphysical Bible for yourself just by going to truthunity.net and emailing Mark, and he will send one to you. There's also other great materials there.
Yes.
A lot of other great materials and talks and audio and video. It's amazing.
That he provides free of charge for those who are interested. He's a lot like the foundation, of Unity with the Fillmores. Their main mission was to get this information out to as many people as possible so that they in turn would apply it in their lives and start to transform the world for the better just by applying these principles to their own life personally. They knew it would create a ripple effect, and they weren't concerned about how are we going to finance this. They were just doing it as a mission, and lo and behold, like anything else you do like that, the donations came to continue to do so, to continue to do this.
Yep.
Like we do, like Darrell and Ed do.
Yeah. And we can tell that you all are, like I said, sort of inspired by this stuff in similar ways, in your own ways. And so you've listened to us speak, share the first part of the show. Is there anything bubbling up after having heard us go on and on that you want to share to start us off?
Well, ladies first.
Yeah, what made me laugh out loud was when you said the narrator is now in a better mood.
Yeah.
Because, it's just another way to think about, I have choice in this and awareness in this. And I just wrote, what character do I want to play? And then I thought, well, which one is the most fun? Because if I'm saying, I'm going around grouchy and that's not any fun. That just drags myself down, drags everyone down. And then I can change in the moment. Like, I got a new script. There's an update. Here's a rewrite, and I got a new script. And, they have talked. I went to a conference one time, and they said, how many of you think you could go from feeling really angry and upset to like excited in like 1 second? No one raised their hand. So then they showed a little video of a teen girl who was really mad and grouching around, and the phone rings and the parents pick it up, and it's this new boyfriend. And meanwhile, the daughter is grouching around, and they said, it's so-and-so on the phone. And she's immediately like, hi.
Yeah.
So she changed her role like that.
Yeah.
And then everyone got it. It's like, we've totally done that. So it is possible. It just feels like if you don't have a reason to change, you just might want to, grouch around a bit, you may not, but it's possible because we do it all the time. We do it.
Yes.
So that's what struck me.
And so one of the things that struck me also was talking about the balcony and the view from the balcony, and read a book many years ago called Balcony People. And it's just about people that live in that higher place, and they've got hearts of service, and they're also lifting themselves up above the fray of what's going on. But then that led me to another little term. So I don't play video games. I'm not into them. But in a conversation with a friend recently, I heard about the non-player character in the video games. So you've got your normal character, and a non-player character would be someone that would like hand you something or pass you in the street. They're not anything. But how many times do we let what would be a non-player character, like the cashier at the store or a driver on the road, who you'll never see again? They're not a main character in your script. affect you and allow
Yes.
you to get upset. And so by recognizing those people, like keeping with our theme of the casting director, by recognizing those people as a non-player character, you can say, I'm never going to see them again. You can bring yourself back to center, back to the divine, because you've cast yourself. You are the main character, and you're
the hero.
The hero. Yeah, the hero.
Yeah.
And so that's really what came to, and really, so we're all of the same age. We remember all the Star Trek TV series. And so for me, the non-player characters were always, the shore party comes down and it's Captain Picard or all the main characters. And there's this one guy that you've never seen before.
He's doomed. He's done.
You always know.
Yeah,
that guy's going
he's
down.
never going back to the Enterprise. Or she
I know. You never meet those crew members. Never.
Yeah.
And never pan out well. That's why I always want to be the center of attention, because I don't want to be one. Actually, if you want, there's a great movie called Galaxy Quest,
Yes.
where Sam Rockwell kind of has like the smallest part in an episode, but now they're on this real mission. He's like, I'm done. Everyone knows I'm done because I'm not a main character in this thing. Because you know what happened? He's like freaking out.
Great.
Calm down. Of course, it turns out well for him, folks. So, it's a spoiler alert, but just to let you know that it's a good one. So, but yes, these are great tools. I love all of these.
Yeah.
I love that analogy. It makes it so clear how quickly my mood changes in those types of instances, like the teenage girl. But yet, when I'm upset and by myself and think, and I keep entertaining the grievance, thinking that it's difficult to go from grievance to joy. And when people now, this is a reminder for me to go, wait a minute, because I could change like that if someone called me and said, guess what? Could be a number of things, that are super positive and unexpected. I'd be like, wow. And that grievance would just go,
Yeah.
and
It would be nothing.
Nothing.
Uh-huh.
You
So
got
we-
$100,000 check for you here, Darrell. We just need you to come sign it.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
No more grievance.
That's a great visualization right there. I love that. And it's also reminds me of this, that I think it's attributed to Einstein, that you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created it.
Yes.
And then but then to take that like a step further, it's like, how do we choose a different mind through which to look at it? And it's like, say there's something coming up with my health. In the past, it was, I tended towards, this is going to be hard, it's going to last forever. And, the difference of shifting over, this is no big deal. And even though that if I don't know what the solution is, there is an easy solution. I've seen so many things evaporate so quickly. The next day, it's just gone.
Yes.
Because our natural tendency towards healing is so good. But if we keep knocking on the door that it's going to take a long time, like when I used to have, before I had all these tools, say something was bothering me that was been bothering me for my whole life, and I would go to, 4 sessions to talk to someone about that, 10 sessions, and now I can let that go because I have a different mind than I did then. I see it differently, and it just, that change of perspective. It's not like I couldn't have released it back then. I just didn't know I could. And
That's
so all
right.
these tools, there's power
Yes.
in that knowledge,
Yeah.
That's right. And then also, you were saying, God's working this out for me. No suffering
Yes.
required.
Yes.
It's so good just to
Yeah.
release it, because we don't have to know how. Although, I really like to know how. I have to just say, as a
Right.
human walking the earth, I want to know how. And then I just, that's where, just affirming over and over, like you were
Yeah.
saying, Ed, earlier, just
Mhm.
having those mantras that you can continually repeat until you get your mind out of the track.
Yeah.
Doomsday is coming.
Yeah. There's so much of what I think of as reality. It's just this voice chirping in the back of my brain.
Yes.
No one else hears it. No one else knows it's there. But to get to the point where I realize that that's the case is what this stuff is all about. To recognize it. Oh, there's Darrell's not really saying that, or my mom's not here. I'm not really 10 years old again. I'm not 30. Like I'm in an amazing house in Culver City doing an amazing show right now. I can just walk right out the door, like the Emmett Fox reading about the guy who thinks he's been in prison for 20 years, and then he finally makes a plan that he's going to get out. I'm not going to retell it. We've told it recently, but it's basically the door wasn't locked.
Yeah.
He walks right out of the cell. He thinks the guards are going to stop him as he walks across
No
the
one
grounds.
noticed
No one
him.
even notices him, and he just keeps on walking, and that's like, that's if this is a loving universe, which it is, then everything else is just being contrived by a story I'm telling myself that I picked up somewhere. And it doesn't matter where I picked it up. It's more about being enthusiastically in pursuit of a new way of looking at things, which is more in alignment with, and we're never too old. This is one of the things I've been having to chase out, just turned 50, chase out of my mind, attributing things to age. Suddenly it's the same thing that happened before, but now it's, and then that makes it like a death sentence. It's like, let go of all that stuff.
It's like in the culture, like, well, you're just getting old. You go to the doctor. Well, you are getting older. You're like, that's a cheap, that's a cheap shot.
I think sometimes the doctors wait for you to get to a certain age because at the younger ages, they say, we don't know what's going on. And then when you hit a certain age, it's like, oh, you're just getting older. Now we know.
We know. That's what it is.
But don't you find that when you're doing your morning practice that almost always a tool has come up to help you? You talk tools and toolbox. It seems like the reading, or if I write afterwards, it's always just the right thing to make that switch, to switch that role. And
that's why we think it's the most valuable thing you could do.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Is a morning practice where you are reading something uplifting of your choice that elevates your frequency of thought, meditate, and then visualize your day ahead with this brighter outlook, because we actually create our day by how we begin to perceive our day is going to go. And we also want to reinforce the idea, be mindful of the results you're getting, meaning watch how your mind is operating, whether negatively or positively, and then be aware of the outcomes, because you're going to get outcomes. There's a book here we've been reading, Treat Yourself to Life, which I just quoted. And in there he says something real quick about how thought and feeling is one process, and it works for success as well as failure. There's no secret trick to success that's different from the way, the method that you've been experiencing failure in any area. It's the same. Yeah. It's thought plus feeling is bringing about the circumstances. Just this past week, a very unusual thing happened. A week ago, I was with Steve and Tom Thorpe. We were at the farmers market in Culver and downtown LA. It's the original farmers market. It's been there since like 1902 or something.
It's actually a set of shops. It's not just like a setup in the cul-de-sac. It's every day it's there. It's a little marketplace.
Yeah, it's a marketplace, and there's some vendors in there. And one of the vendors that just opened up was called Pickles. And I walked by it, and it was brand new.
You're never going to guess what they sell.
Yeah, just pickles. And he goes, would you like to sample our pickles? And I felt bad because I don't want to sample pickles. And there was nobody going to his store. And I thought, this poor guy was excited and thought he's going to succeed. Like, because I'm going on people want to eat a pizza or a hamburger. Who's going to pick a pickle?
It was really striking because Darrell, when he told me about it later, he couldn't even tell the story. He kept going like, well, I feel so bad. And he would look into the distance, this guy. And then he would get choked up, and he couldn't even tell the story.
Well, no, I mean, I had compassion for him because
you had compassion for a story you thought was the story.
Yeah, I was making up a story, but it's amazing how love with your thought still brings you. You're gonna get the results or the answer that corresponds
Yeah. This is crazy.
with the higher altitude, with the loving altitude, not the nightmare that you might be thinking.
Right.
But my heart was going out. Hopefully, this guy will be okay. And the very next week, which was yesterday, folks, Steve and I are together. Steve decides to get a coffee.
Now, on the way in, we were talking, and I said, yes, we're blessing the pickle man, Darrell. We're blessing the pickle man.
Yeah, because I knew I'd probably see the place again, and I wanted to be blessing the. So that's true. I called Ed, and I said, well, what about pickles?
Yeah, so it's instead of like me scratching my head going, why does Darrell keep talking? I just said, you know what, Darrell? Because sometimes Darrell, the little kid, like, I have to say, you know what, Darrell? We're going to bless the pickle man. He's going to be all right. And then Darrell goes in there.
I go in there.
This is where it gets wild.
So Steven picks this, obscure gourmet coffee shop. He wants to get coffee. I go, all right, let's go. And he goes there primarily because the barista there recommended a hamburger place for Steve to try. And he wanted to let the guy know it was a great hamburger and buy a cup of coffee. So we go there, and I'm not getting anything. So I'm just like a bystander hanging out. And he's telling the barista, he orders his coffee, he's telling him about how great this burger was. And then he's asking, well, where'd you get the other burger? And we told him Phil's, where I get my hamburgers. And then there's a girl there, just waiting for her coffee. Right. She looked like the actress Awkwafina. And she says, wait a minute, do you guys know Great Burgers? And she goes, yeah, I know that place. And there's another great place. And she tells us about this third great place to try a burger. And she says, oh, yeah. And then she just does a quick aside. She goes, yeah, and they use our pickles. And I go, but I hear that. And I go, there's no way. And I go, wait a minute. Are you from Pickles? And she goes, yeah, I work at Pickles. And she was so excited. And she starts talking about how great it is to work for Pickles. And she goes, yeah, the guy there is you may have seen the owner. I'm just an employee, but the owner, he has a bald head and I go, he looks like a pickle? Because I thought that's where this was going. And she goes, no, but he's so in love with, he has this passion for pickles. He's from the East Coast. He's always loved pickles. He's worked with pickles. And when he moved out here, he was like, I want to bring this good pickle to people in Los Angeles, these variety of pickles. And he goes, and she says, we ship and deliver pickles to all the restaurants in the area. And I start hearing all this great news about pickles, because remember, I was concerned about them, folks. But not only that, I find out how super and great this guy must be, because here's an employee gushing about him, and she's just a young lady working as a pickle vendor, and she goes, yeah, he calls me he says we're all pickle baristas. And I asked him, well, how am I going to put that on a resume? And he said, I don't know, I just made it up, put it on there, in the future. So can you believe how this whole, you can't plan this stuff.
That's
how
right.
Did I end up there? The prayer for the pickle man before we went, and then the whole prayer is answered in an amazing way.
And I also love, what I love too, is we look at things and we judge them by their cover. But secretly, this guy, he has this gold mine, which is he's selling these pickles to these restaurants that you don't see when you're just at the stand. So he's actually doing very well.
And he's passionate about it, and that's what made it a success, although I didn't see it in that moment when I first saw it.
And that's like all of us. We all have this gold mine, this divine inheritance that we don't see unless we're looking at it through the lens of being fully informed by what the divine is doing in our lives. That's a lot of what this stuff teaches us too, is that the things we desire are already present.
Yeah.
We just need to get into a place of claiming it, accepting that it's already there, and giving thanks in advance so that it can present itself to us. And it's been there all along. It's like we've had a virtual reality headset on, and we've been watching something else entirely. We could take that off through our morning routine and see the divine presence. And then we can choose to look at things through a much better lens, and then we get to see the good that's already there.
So good. So good.
So, go ahead.
I was gonna say you're mentioning about the story that you retold the story about the man that was in prison and then figured out the door was unlocked and no one cared, and it kind of goes with the reading.
Yeah.
Today.
That's what I was just going to say. We could get to the reading. I also wanted to say hello to Bennett Tanton watching on YouTube. He said, hey, guys. He also said, Mark, that's a great shirt. Yes. And
wait, can you believe I mentioned Syracuse? We haven't heard from Bennett Tanton. He's in Syracuse. That's where he is. He's in
that's
Syracuse.
Where you met him, right? Yeah.
I met him there, and I think that's where he lives now.
We got to get you back on the show, Bennett, by the way. So we'll be reaching out. He was a guest, a frequent guest back a while back, and he has a great gravelly voice. So
dude, this guy is
we love you,
he's
Bennett.
A great guy. Not only was he a veteran of the Army, he's also a veteran of the Marines.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's hear this. Those are great roles. Let's hear this great role.
This great role. Well, this was written back in 1969. The new life of Christ in me bursts all bonds of limitation, and I am free to express my Christ self, that Christ self, which is our true self. I am free from every confining influence. Every limitation in life is now overcome. I rise out of bondage to materiality. This day I rise to the very heights of my possibilities. I ascend to the pinnacle of spiritual consciousness. I ascend to the consciousness in which I perceive myself unfettered and unbound. The new life of Christ in me makes me a new creature. I have a new consciousness and new ideas. I think new thoughts. My mind is impregnated with new substance. My body is this day resurrected from old beliefs. Not a trace of weakness or disease can remain in me. My body now blooms with health. I am free to express that which I have long desired to express. I express peace, joy, and health. I love my life because I am wholly free. My soul breaks every self-imposed bond, and I am a free soul, free to express the Christ. My soul rejoices to know God and to manifest him. And from Matthew chapter 28, verse 2, an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone.
This is a doozy.
Yeah, thanks to Michael Schoonover for sending us this reading. Wow.
Yeah, just full of wonderful things. You could just take a piece of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe everyone can share one thing from that they got. We never do this one. Let's hear one thing that you really jumps out at you, Fazaro.
I am free from every confining influence. Every limitation in life is now overcome. That first two sentences.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Mark?
This day I rise to the very heights of my possibilities.
Feels so good. All right, Ayesha?
So many things.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I am free to express that which I have long desired to express. I express peace, joy, and health. I love my life because I am wholly free.
Yes. I like my soul breaks every self-imposed bond.
Yes.
And that there's a lot of power. And the only way I've found that I can access this is through my morning practice, where it's like I get under the hood of my own mind. And I proclaim, this is the use of denial, that these are all self-imposed bonds. All of these are, and I am free from them now. So, and then from there I can start affirming things. But, you know, it's really important to go in there and just call myself out. Like, I don't believe that anymore. Just because my subconscious mind, you know, I once believed it, whatever. It's like our subconscious mind needs us to proclaim our new role. And it will be like a child. It will listen and go, oh my God, I can do a new role? Let's do it. Let's like Ayesha said, what's the fun role I can play?
That's
Here's
what the
new script.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that's what that Bible verse, command you me.
Yeah.
Wow.
It
Yeah.
means command you me. And if we don't tell the subconscious what we desire and what we do not desire, well, then it's just going to run on the existing pattern.
Yeah.
But when we give it a new job to do, it will assume that job and go to work
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah.
But that also is sometimes we proclaim the wrong things, well, I'm no good. Okay, I'm not sure I want to do this, but okay. I'm no good programming goes to work.
Yeah.
Instead
I'll
of,
find the evidence.
I'll find the evidence.
That's it.
So we're here to break free from that stuff.
Yeah, just know that once you consciously see around the edges of these old fears, and I've been experiencing this lately, there may be a time where it starts to feel like I'm worse off than I was before. But it's because now I've become sensitive to something that I was just kind of numb to, was just accepted it. So when I turn to face it, at first it feels like, oh, I've taken a step back, but it's really time to, like Florence Scovel Shinn said, rejoice.
Yes.
Emmett Fox calls it's the devil's last ditch. And the devil is just, like Michael Schoonover pointed out, in Hebrew, there's only one power. It's God. But the devil is a description of these thoughts, that averse thoughts, these thoughts that are out of alignment with our divinity. So those thoughts are there, and it feels like, oh, this is a devilish experience I'm having here. But you're on your way, and reach out to Darrell and Ed or other friends who practice this stuff to remind you. Because sometimes, for me, I'm like, there's a part of me that's still believing a story that a 5-year-old me bought into. And it feels really real. And I just need like a moment for someone to snap me out of it and go, oh my God, I'm 50 now. What am I still, like, I'm letting that go. And in embracing the power to shift our thinking for the better. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's see here. Any closing remarks before we wrap up the show with a story and a song? Mark, we want to throw anything out? Ayesha?
Well, I just, my eyes fell on this, write those troubling characters you have taken on out of the script, the character that, whatever it is that I'm not liking about myself, like, oh, that's a troublesome character. They're not going to show up in any scenes going forward.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're just we're going to write them out of the script. That character is no fun anymore. If I get to say, then I can say that too. I can say, I'm going to write that aspect of that character out of the script, or even just say, this character is going to have this amazing transformative experience that, now changes and creates all this other stuff. It doesn't, in movies, we just accept, like, oh, that now this has happened just because it's entertaining and it's fun. We don't necessarily have to go and pick it all apart and say, that's not possible, but for me to say, oh, well, that wouldn't work if I would be changed in some way. I was like, well, yeah, it could. Sure, it could.
Yeah.
There's a right that aspect out.
Right.
Yeah.
Which kind of reminds me, like I was pondering the whole, theme of today's show. And, so that movie from 1980, Airplane, that comedy with Leslie Nielsen, heard an interview with the director who said that they rewrote that script 20 times before they started filming it because they wanted to get the timing just right. But we can keep rewriting our script so we can get maximum benefit, maximum connection, maximum godness in our lives.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, just rewriting until we just get that perfect sweet spot.
Yeah. And what are the chances that, like 2 days ago, Darrell and I were taking a walk talking about Airplane? Because when I originally got HBO as a kid, they would play like one movie every 3 hours, and Airplane was one of them. And we were just talking about this movie like 2 or 3 days ago, and I haven't thought of that in ages.
Well, such a funny, crazy, random movie.
The day that we all connected, when you first connected with Ayesha, that day I was down in the tunnels of Unity Village and came across some of Darrell's artwork that was up with other artwork. And I thought,
Whoa.
that looks like Darrell's artwork. And it was, I don't know if you've got a book published or one coming, but it was up there with other published books and the cover to a jigsaw puzzle, and they just put it on a
Right by shipping.
right by shipping. Right.
Wow.
I was going in to pick up some daily words actually to distribute, and it's like,
Wow.
I don't know
saw
how
the
long.
photo.
Yeah, I don't know how long it's been there, but
Did you get that? I think I sent
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
got
I
it.
passed it on to
Yeah.
Darrell.
but that
Yeah.
was the day we all started connecting,
Oh, I mean, reconnecting for this episode.
reconnecting for this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darrell's got 2 books. What if Godzilla just wanted a hug, and then Break Out of Your Box.
Yes.
And then he also has a series of cards, and that was one of the cards that you had made.
that I did for Unity. Yeah.
Yeah.
From
Okay.
Jim Blake.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because it was something through the Unity Online Radio, at
Radio.
that time. Yeah, you shared that art. They were raising a fundraiser.
A
of some sort.
fundraiser.
Yeah,
All
that's
right.
amazing though. The
funny.
connections,
Yeah.
the coinciding things
Yeah.
that are happening, especially when we're aware of them. And I want to throw out there, if you're going to write out a character, just like in a show,
Yeah.
know that they're probably going to show up again in another episode. And how are you going to be? A lot of it is how are you going to be with that character?
Yes.
Be loving, be kind. Because fighting with the character keeps the character, everyone loves a good antagonist. And then trying to be that character, of course, is going to keep the character. But blessing it, even though it can seem like the antithesis of what we want to do, this is why Darrell's character, that's why Darrell's book is called What If Godzilla Just Wanted a Hug?
Yes.
Hug Godzilla. You're like, okay, we don't need you anymore. Let's hang up the suit. Here's your final check. But just be
Yeah.
ready to love that character if they show. Because a lot of times we disown parts of ourselves, and then we wonder why they're coming in and wreaking havoc on ourselves. You know, it's like we love them, and then they'll take a different role.
Yeah.
Just go find your seat in the theater. You know, enjoy the show or go have fun. Yeah. So that's the healing. But all right. So thank you, Mark and Ayesha,
Yeah.
for joining us.
Yeah. Pleasure.
Let's see. We have a little story.
Yeah. Matter of fact, it has to do with you two being married.
Yeah, overheard this at the village one day. A newlywed couple at Unity Village asked Ayesha.
Oh, that's right. I'd say I gotta
yeah,
do
yeah.
it. I
Let's try
gotta be.
this
I gotta
again.
be the lady.
Yeah. So there was a newlywed couple at Unity Village, and they asked Ayesha,
How has your marriage endured so long? What is the secret for success?
Ayesha smiled and replied,
Actually, it's no secret at all. I'm a forgiving woman. Long ago, I forgave Mark for not being Paul Newman.
And that's all it took.
we'll take Mark over Paul Newman any day.
That's for
Come
sure.
on. So should we sing it out, buddy?
Oh yeah, okay. And a song that
You'll
goes
be
great.
singing this too.
Yeah,
This song, right?
you'll be singing this when you start living, as being aware of the role you're playing in
Yeah.
in the scenes of your day. You will be singing this. Are you ready, Ethel?
Yes.
There's no business like show business. There's no business I know. Everything about it is appealing. Everything that traffic will allow. Nowhere could you get that happy feeling when you are stealing that extra bow. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Yesterday they told you you will not go far. That night you opened and there you are. Next day on your dressing room they'll hung a star. Let's go on with the show. Visit DarrellandEd.com.
Mark and Ayesha, we love you.
And as always, thank you for being a part of Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed.
There's no
Business like show, business like no business I know. You get the word before the show has started that your favorite uncle died at dawn. On top of that, your mom and pop parted. You're broken hearted, but you go on. There's no people like show people. They smile when they are low. Even with a turkey that you know has foaled, you may be stranded out in the cold, but still you wouldn't change it for a sack of gold. Let's go on with the show. Let's go on with the show. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lois Conklin. I saw your comments about the great show.
Great
All
show.
right. Well, hopefully you'll be joining us again.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'd love to when time works out.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be in touch. Definitely. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have a great
Guys,
day.
have a wonderful, fantastic week with all the great characters.
You too.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.